everyone. You know that feeling, right? You've got an article, maybe some notes, and you just need to pull out the important stuff fast.
Yeah, cut through the noise.
Exactly. And that's what we do here. So today, we're digging into a piece from datapro.news. It's called Transforming Data Governance with AI.
Ah, yes, by Samuel Williams. Just came out May 7th, 2025.
That's the one.
So our mission today really is to get under the hood of this article. We want to understand how AI is, well, fundamentally changing data governance.
Not just changing it, but what it means for, like, the tech folks and the business users.
Precisely. The tech teams managing it, the business teams using it. And the big goal here, according to the article, is making data clearer, more transparent, easier to get to.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Data governance. It's often seen as, well, necessary, but maybe a bit clunky.
That's a good way to put it, clunky. The article definitely acknowledges that traditional governance can sometimes feel like, friction in the system.
Like red tape when you're just trying to get data out the door?
Exactly. It's seen as overhead.
Yeah.
Essential, maybe, for rules and security, but yeah, it can feel like a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Especially when you need to move fast.
And there's a stat in the article that really jumps out: 74% of executives. That's nearly 3/4.
Yeah.
They don't fully trust their own organization's data.
Yeah.
And it ties back to these governance issues.
Wow, 74%. That's huge. And it really shows the impact, doesn't it? When governance isn't working well, trust erodes.
Right.
And for the data engineering teams, well, the article says this means they end up spending loads of time just answering basic questions.
Documenting things manually, tracing data lineage.
Exactly. Trying to figure out where data came from, how it changed. It's a massive time sink.
Which kind of perfectly sets the stage for something like Coalesce Catalog. The article mentions it was formerly CastorDoc.
That's right. And it's presented as a really big deal, a significant step, mainly because of how it uses AI.
So AI is the key differentiator here.
It seems so. The article positions it as a way to finally bridge that gap we were talking about.
Between the technical weeds of data management and the business need to actually find and use the data easily.
Exactly. And AI is woven throughout the platform to make that happen.
So how does that work in practice instead of manually tagging everything?
Right, which is often inconsistent, let's be honest.
Yeah.
AI steps in. It automates a lot of the discovery and the documentation. The AI can look at the data, figure out its structure, its content.
And generate the descriptions and tags automatically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Or at least get you most of the way there. And this automated metadata then powers a search function. The article calls it Google-like.
A Google-like search, but for your company's internal data. That sounds actually really useful.
It does. And there's a user quote in there that backs it up.
Oh, yeah. What'd they say?
Someone mentioned that finding the right data used to take them like 45 minutes.
Wow, okay.
And now, with this AI-powered search and the metadata behind it, they find it in seconds.
45 minutes down to seconds. That's transformative.
It really is.
You can see straight away how that helps business users just get what they need without constantly pinging the data team.
Absolutely. It empowers them. And it frees up the engineers. And something else the article stresses, especially since the Coalesce acquisition,
Right, the acquisition.
is embedding governance into the data transformation process itself.
Okay, so not just applying rules after the fact.
Exactly. Moving away from governance as an afterthought, something you built on later.
More like building it into the workflow from the start.
That's the idea, making it part of how data is actually managed and changed day to day.
And how does that manifest? Lineage seems key here.
Very key. The platform offers really comprehensive lineage, end-to-end visibility.
So you can see where data started, all the transformation.
All the way through to where it ends up.
Mm.
And not just at a high level down to the specific table and even column level.
That sounds powerful and useful. The article mentions a G2 review stat.
Yeah, 97% of users found the lineage feature effective.
97%. That's almost unanimous praise.
It suggests it's hitting the mark. And you can see why, right? If you're migrating data, changing schemas, or just trying to figure out why a report looks weird.
Having that clear map of the data's journey is crucial.
Invaluable, really, for troubleshooting, understanding impact, all that stuff.
Okay, but what about documentation? That's always the big challenge, keeping it current.
Ah, the perennial problem, yeah.
It feels impossible sometimes with the amount of data involved. How does AI help there?
Well, this is another area where AI, according to the article, makes a big difference. Coalesce Catalog uses AI to automatically generate descriptions for data assets.
Like write the descriptions for tables and columns?
Yeah, or at least suggest them. And it can also suggest ways to improve existing documentation. It makes maintaining it much more manageable.
Less manual grunt work, more intelligent help.
Exactly. Scalability is the key word there.
And the article also mentions a business glossary. What role does that play?
That's about creating a shared language, making sure everyone means the same thing when they talk about, say, active customers or monthly recurring revenue.
Standard definitions across the board.
Right. So different teams aren't interpreting the same data differently. And apparently, users really value this 100% effectiveness rating on G2 for the glossary.
Wow. Okay. So it really helps align everyone.
Seems like it.
We've talked a lot about the technical side, lineage, documentation. But what about the business users, the non-technical folks? How does this make data easier for them?
The article emphasizes the user interface. It's designed to be intuitive, not require deep technical skills.
There was another user quote about that, wasn't there? Something like
Yeah, someone said basically anyone in the company could use it without needing to ask questions, which is quite a statement.
It really is. So business users can explore data relationships, understand context.
Without writing SQL.
Yeah, without needing SQL or relying on the data team for every little thing.
Exactly. The platform enables this through a few features mentioned. Natural language queries.
Asking questions in plain English.
AI-assisted exploration to guide them. That visual lineage we discussed, and the business glossary integration for clarity.
So all those things work together to make it less intimidating.
That's the goal, to democratize access, make it more self-service.
Okay, let's circle back to that trust issue we started with, the 74% stat. How does a tool like this actually help rebuild trust in the data?
Well, it seems to be about transparency and understanding. When users can see where data came from.
The lineage.
Right. And see the transformations, get insights into data quality, read clear definitions in the glossary.
That builds confidence.
Exactly. Consistent definitions, clear documentation, the ability to identify like certified or trusted data assets, it all adds up.
And for the data engineers, hopefully fewer "is this number right?" questions.
That's definitely a benefit highlighted. Less questioning the basic reliability of the data.
Now, here's an interesting point the article raised using this for technical debt.
Yeah, and deprecation planning. That's maybe a less obvious use case.
How does that work?
Because the platform gives you visibility into data usage or, importantly, lack of usage. You can identify data assets that just aren't being used anymore.
Oh, right. Tables or columns that are just sitting there consuming your resources, maybe.
Precisely. One user apparently explained how they use it to figure out what's safe to retire. Makes deprecation planning much easier and data-driven.
That makes a lot of sense. Clean up the old stuff, focus resources better, reduce maintenance overhead. Smart.
It seems pretty practical.
Of course, for any tool like this to be useful, it needs to play nice with everything else in the data stack. Integrations are key.
Absolutely crucial. And the article mentions Coalesce Catalog acts as a kind of central hub connecting to lots of other tools.
Over 80 integrations, it said.
Yeah, quite a broad reach. It specifically calls out a few key ones, though.
Like DBT.
Yes, the DBT integration sounds quite deep. It automatically pulls in model code, descriptions, runs status, lineage, ownership, even test results. Daily.
Wow, that's comprehensive. And Looker.
Enhances discovery of Looker assets, dashboards, reports, and links them back to the underlying data. So you see the connection.
And Snowflake.
Specialized support there as their Snowflake partner. Deeper integration capabilities.
So these integrations provide that unified view, basically, make life easier for data teams.
That's the value proposition, yeah. A single pane of glass, enhanced productivity.
So, looking ahead, the Coalesce acquisition seems important here. What's their future vision, according to the article? Where is AI-powered governance heading?
They outline a kind of phased approach. Short term, the focus is on things like extending that automated lineage from source all the way to BI tools.
Getting the full picture.
Right, improving discoverability even more, using AI for deeper metadata insights. But the longer-term vision is a fully integrated platform. Governance, observability, intelligence, all embedded right into the data transformation lifecycle itself.
So really tightly woven together.
Seems so. And they're investing heavily in more advanced AI, mentioning agentic AI.
Agentic AI. Sounds like AI that can take more initiative.
That's the implication. A more proactive, perhaps even autonomous layer to data management and governance.
This all sounds like it could really change the day-to-day for data engineers.
I think that's the core argument in the article. A shift for data professionals.
From being reactive, constantly firefighting,
Exactly. Putting out fires, answering basic questions, manual documentation.
to being more proactive,
Yeah.
more strategic.
That's the opportunity. Letting AI handle the scaling of documentation, the discovery, democratizing access for others.
So engineers can focus on higher-level design, architecture, innovation.
Precisely. Embedding governance smartly into development, not as a hurdle, but as an enabler.
So governance becomes less about saying no and more about enabling safe, fast, reliable use of data.
That's the paradigm shift described. Making data more accessible, more trustworthy, and ultimately more valuable to everyone.
So wrapping up, the big takeaway seems to be that AI isn't just tweaking data governance, it's fundamentally changing the game.
Yeah, making it more integrated, more automated, and hopefully more beneficial for both the tech teams and the business users.
Right. Making it work better for everyone involved.
Exactly. And that leaves us with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on.
Okay.
As AI becomes more and more embedded in how we manage data, how do you think the skills needed in data engineering and analytics teams will change? What does this mean for the future skill set?
That's a really interesting question. Something to definitely think about in terms of your own teams and your own organization's approach to data governance.